following video is sponsored by Pampers Diapers. Welcome, my muffins of Chaldea, to the How to Improve series. Here I briefly go over the abilities of a servant, their strengths and weaknesses, and then discuss how I believe they can best be upgraded by either making their strengths shine even more, fixing their biggest weakness, and or just by adding something fun. Today we look at the cutest Cupid that could be, Caren. Caren's first skill is Shroud of Valentinus A, which does the following. Apply Invincible to self for 3 hits that last 3 turns. Absorb 10% NP gauge from all other allies for 3 turns. And apply Invincible to all allies except self for 1 hit that also lasts 3 turns. And finally, increase NP gain for all allies up to 20%. Caren's second skill is Golden Arrow A, which applies target focus to self for 1 turn, increases NP gauge for self up to 30%, decreases NP gauge for all enemies by 1, decrease attack for all enemies up to 20% for 3 turns, and decrease defense for all enemies up to 20% for 3 turns. And lastly, Caren's third skill is Mana Burst Love A, which increases quick, buster, and art card effectiveness up to 20% for 3 turns, increases own NP gauge up to 20%, and decreases NP gauge for a single enemy by 1. Bonus mention, she has some fantastic passive skills, such as an attack buff every time she is debuffed, and has increased resistance to buster attacks, among some other great ones. And lastly, her Noble Phantasm, the greatest hits Calling Agape, is an AoE quick attack that has a future buff that deals 150% super effective damage against all chaotic alignment enemies. It decreases quick resist for all enemies up to 20%, inflicts nullify buff for 1 time lasting 3 turns on all enemies, and lastly, it'll increase her own NP strength for 1 turn that activates before the damage as the overcharge effect. For her, I'm not going to go over the biggest weakness or strength, as she doesn't really have anything that stands out, both negative or positive. She covers a lot of bases both in terms of defense, offense, farming, and utility, but she also doesn't shine in any of those aspects as well, as at least comparing to other servants. For her upgrade, I decided to focus on her hybrid support / DPS role and try and lean more into making her viable for challenge quests rather than just farming. And so I will be upgrading her first skill, where I add the following effects. Apply buff removal resist up to 100% for all allies for 1 turn. Apply instant death immune to all allies for 1 turn. And then as a demerit, I'm decreasing debuff resistance for all allies for 1 turn. While I know there are other aspects that can be improved upon, I wanted to give her an additional support skill that would help greatly with not only her own survival, but that of the whole party. Also, that demerit would help the skill not feel too overpowered, while also giving Caren an extra attack boost due to her passive ability. It's also the only skill that doesn't really benefit greatly from being leveled, because that NP gain for allies is the only thing that changes with level. So having that extra buff removal resist scaling with level as well would be an additional nice factor. I feel like overall there is a massive lack of buff removal resist in the game, and with how supportive she already is, I thought that this would give her an additional edge she would need to stand out among those tackling on challenge quests, especially when compared to other extra class servants. Overall, I think Caren is a very strong and fun servant to use, and has a pretty interesting and powerful kit to boot. Good luck to all that are rolling for her, and have fun to all that already have her. And that concludes how I would improve Caren. Let me know in the comments how you would improve her yourself, and I hope to see you on the next one.